right, finally, an in-person show with my man Tim. Talking about Bitcoin today. We're here in Nashville at the Bitcoin conference. It just concluded yesterday. The orange man was in the orange house and the roof came off. I mean, there was about 8,000 people in the room and there was an enormous amount of excitement to see if he was going to give us an executive order to purchase Bitcoin as a strategic reserve for the United States of America. Now, RFK had spoken the day before, and he had laid it out that he believed that Donald Trump would come on Saturday and tell us that he was going to buy 550 Bitcoin a day until the U.S. had 1 million Bitcoins on the books. But of course, that didn't happen, right? And so the big question that Tim and I had going into that event was, based on what Donald Trump did say, can Bitcoin pump? Would it have pumped? Historically, after the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin actually crashes or dumps, right? And now we got into the show, and Donald Trump was talking, and I'm going to go over some of the things he was saying. And the Bitcoin initially was climbing above 69K, and then it did begin to dump about halfway through when he actually did make his comment that he was going to instruct the federal agencies to not sell its Bitcoin, hold on to its Bitcoin, right? And then as soon as he said that, it dropped down to, I think, around 66.
Well, so I think it actually started dropping right before we started speaking. Yeah, so I was watching. I wasn't in the room. I think Josh was in the room. I was in the press room watching with a bunch of other people. So the price started to fall because he was delayed. So he was supposed to speak at 2 o'clock Central Time. I don't think he was on that stage before 2:50. I think
it was an hour late.
So it was a very long delay. It started dropping while people were waiting for him. It got
now. Can I just throw in something there?
Yeah.
So at the time he was late, there was a lot of speculation and buzz that a special guest was coming, and it was almost the implication that that's why he was late. And then there was even on Twitter, it was dropping that Elon Musk's plane had landed in Nashville. Yeah. And in my circle of community, right away the conversation was, who would be even more interesting to see today for all of us in the Bitcoin conference? Would it be Elon or would it be Trump? And, so I started to get a little excited thinking, if he shows up on this stage with Elon, my Tesla is going through the roof.
Yeah.
And so I got to be honest with you. I didn't want to cut you off. No, I'm disappointed. My Tesla's not going to pump on Monday, and Bitcoin didn't pump because we didn't get everything we were hoping for. But continue on.
No, we were so in the press room, same thing. So we were tracking his plane. So everyone knows you can track Elon's plane. It flew right over Nashville.
Yes.
And then we saw it was going to Memphis, and this before Trump came on stage. But we were wondering, because everyone knows Elon. Elon is a fan of trolling people. He loves memes. He loves messing with people. We all know that he took the Bitcoin emoji off of Twitter, or X, day one of the conference. So we were pontificating, what if all of this move was just Elon trolling? And I walk away, even though he ended up not coming on stage, I still think Elon knew very well where his plane was going, what was happening underneath his plane. I have to imagine there was a little bit of a troll with even his plane flight. But it would have been really cool. That did not happen. I found out later, I don't know, this rumor. Rumor is that the guest they were talking about is actually another attacker. Someone they had on their radar that has definitely been outspoken about trying to deal with the orange man, the president, and so the special guest was they were dealing with getting him before Trump went on stage. So I don't know if that's true or not.
You know what? That makes some sense, Tim, because when Trump came out on stage, he actually talked about the fact that it was Secret Service that was responsible for delaying the event, and that he had basically let them do what they needed to do before going on. So you might be spot on about that. Guys, this is the Stocks with Josh show. Thank you for joining me today. Wiz is going to go over some key takeaways from the Bitcoin event. I wanted to cover a few more things that were said that have huge implications on your crypto portfolio. But then I want to talk about Bitcoin. This is not going to be a long video today. We're going to just get into what to expect now that the Bitcoin conference is over, going into the rest of this year. I'm going to pick Tim's brain. I'm going to tell you guys what I see in the charts. We have problems in the chart, okay? But we are strategically at a place where it could be just as realistic for us to break out and go higher. We've already booked a significant oversold moment. The momentum that we had earlier coming out of winter had peaked and cooled for quite a few months. We're over 140 days from that momentum move, which is typically the amount of time it takes for Bitcoin to refire up the engines to make another move. So I'm going to get into his thoughts and my thoughts. I'm going to share the problems. This is the Stocks with Josh show. I just want to share, well, who is Tim? This is from Investing Bros. This is he's a wonderful technical analyst like myself, and I love the contribution that he's brought. We do Technical Tuesdays with Tim, and today we're dropping it a little bit later because we wanted to get through this Bitcoin conference and see what we might draw from it to give to you guys. If you weren't able to attend, you're going to attend here in the next few minutes. But hit that like, hit that subscribe, and make sure at the end of this video that you head over to Investing Bros and check out their site and subscribe. It's definitely worth your time. Okay, so let me just go through some more things that the orange guy said. One, he said America first equals Bitcoin. And I thought, he's taking his brand, which is the concept of make America great again, America first. And we're not getting political. We're talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about your portfolio. If you own crypto, this matters, especially because the polls suggest that this guy is potentially the future president. So he has a pretty strong brand. A lot of the people in the United States are pushing him into the White House potentially. And his brand is America First. And he got on that stage and said America First equals Bitcoin. So he did a whole-scale alignment of his message and his messaging with Bitcoin. If you're a Bitcoin maxi, that was a pretty powerful moment because if he does get into that White House and he does what he said he was going to do, he is basically he'll be the very first president in human history to take such a strong alignment with the crypto industry. And to be honest with you, as a long-term in crypto holder and investor, that's very exciting.
It is.
Trump actually, now this I had to throw this in here because Elon did come up. Mm-hmm. And this comment was not favorable. Okay, so we know it wasn't favorable towards Tesla's share price. Okay, so we know that Elon came out and did a wholesale endorsement of Trump right after the attempted assassination. We know that Elon has been trying to position himself strategically towards the potential president, but Trump said that he would get rid of the EV mandate. Okay, so right out of the bat, he's like, I appreciate Elon's support, but I'm going to let the American people have a choice between gas and electric, and I'm not going to push electric down their throats. That's a pretty huge concern for us in a soft EV market already as it is. Now, we have some things that will improve in 2025, like the interest rates coming down would be good for the car makers and the home makers. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, we do have a president that's not going to align with and the environmentalists and the EV market the way that the last president did. So be aware of that. That was not good. Any thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting. He definitely, you could tell he was trying to dance around it, but he wanted to make his point.
Yes.
But he wanted to make his point, but also realized, like, hey, I realize Elon is my ally. He's supporting. But he kind of even said, I said, I think even Elon would agree with me. It would not be wise. In the math he did, I didn't check it afterwards, but the math he did based off of where they started building all these charging stations, he said if we were going to continue this mandate, it's going to cost the country $14 trillion. So I think that point, even if you were sitting there waiting and hoping maybe this would boost Tesla, I think anyone can agree the last thing we need to do is add another $14 trillion to our national debt. And I agree with Orange Man. I think Elon would probably agree with that statement.
Yeah, so another moment in time, and I agree with you, sometimes some of these spending initiatives, first of all, it's this overspending that got us the inflation, mm-hmm. and some of them are literally not possible. So when you vote for someone because you like the spending initiative that they're giving you, you have to understand that it's literally not something that we could do. And getting geared up for all EVs in the time frame that people have suggested isn't something that the United States can do. One of the huge emphases of the Bitcoin conference was the need for power. Energy was a underlining theme, because none of the technology, none of the innovation, none of the NVIDIA AI dreams can come to pass without a proper base of electricity. Now, the powers that be and the capitalists that be understand this, and that's why that message came out strong through the Bitcoin conferences. We got to go from coast to coast and look at the power infrastructure, and that was something that it appeared that Trump understood. Of course, Trump's solution, and this is not a political show, I don't want your political crap in my comment section, but his solution to that was drill, oil focused, and that was something that he said, so it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we've heard him say that before, so I don't know that, I don't know how that will impact the oil market. But here was something that did get a huge rise out of the crowd, which was, he said, on my first day in office, I'm going to fire Gary Gensler. And the crowd erupted into cheers, and then he paused, and you could tell he liked it, because he's a guy that knows how to work a crowd. Yeah. And he's like, well, let me say it again if you guys liked it. He said, on my first day, I'm going to fire Gary Gensler, and the crowd erupted in cheers again.
You can say whatever you want about him. He's a comedian. His timing is impeccable. His response even. But I'll say this. I was talking with a buddy of mine. I said, I would think his aides would have prepared him better, because the whole comment was, he said, on day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. And I'm not in the room, right? Josh in the room. I'm sure everyone, there's a standing ovation. Yeah. You could hear on the recording the loud applause. Trump starts laughing to himself, saying,
yes, he enjoyed.
He's like, I didn't know he was that unpopular.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here saying, how does an aide, as you're about to go into a Bitcoin conference, and this is in your speech, how does an aide not tell you, oh, yeah, that's a good one? Yeah, they're going to like that.
No, you're right. He was underprepared by the reaction and surprised by it.
Yes.
But I liked it, because I thought to myself, okay, if this guy becomes president, he gets the fact that people will love it if he gets rid of Gary Gensler. Yes. Now, he did, of course, go on to say that Kamala has already said that she wants to make Gary Gensler her finance minister. So I'll just leave that out there. I haven't verified that, but that was something that was said. He said that what he wants to create so in his first 100 days of being in office, he's going to create a crypto council that's going to establish regulations for crypto, and he gave this commitment regarding it, because we have not had that regulation. Really, we've just had like a legal battle. We've had an organization that's attacked the crypto industry, damaged our portfolios, and he's saying, listen, and all of those companies, Coinbase, all of them have said, give us the regulation. We'll comply. Tell us what makes it a security or not a security. We'll comply. And matter of fact, Coinbase sued them to say, you're not giving it to us. And Donald Trump said that he's going to require it to be created in this first 100 days of office, and particularly that he was going to put people on that committee that were pro-crypto, which is the most important thing. Because you don't want to put your enemies on the organization that monitors you. And so that was pretty good news if you're a crypto investor. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that was a great thing. And his point is, like, we want people who actually like the space to regulate it. And because I don't think anyone, while there's something to appreciate about the fact that, maybe no one says how you can do crypto or not, we live in a world where there has to be some common sense regulation. It's undeniable. We have to have it. So again, in a perfect world, in a utopia, would it be nice if there was literally no restrictions whatsoever? Yeah, theoretically speaking, yes, but that's not a plausible world. So if we have to have regulation, I would like people, he mentioned names on stage. I would love to see people like Michael Saylor, Caitlin Long. I would love to, he didn't talk about this one, but I would love to see people like RFK involved in helping form the regulation of what crypto looks like moving forward, because they're not going to restrict or hurt. They're going to create things that allow people to actually build wealth safely and eliminate a lot of the scam opportunities that still exist in crypto.
Yeah, so I don't want to get into it too much, but just building on what Tim said, when the FTX collapse occurred, Sam Bankman-Fried had numerous conversations with Gary Gensler himself, and there, you got Sam Bankman-Fried operating unchecked. The guy didn't even have a CFO, a chief financial officer. You couldn't get away with that if you were a $3 million company, and he was a multi-billion-dollar nationwide company, and he didn't even have a CFO. And so that tells you that Gary Gensler didn't make even the simplest effort to go on their website and see who the team was. Nothing was done to protect the American people, and I personally believe that he should be held responsible for that. And I thought that the federal government needed to bail those people out that lost money over that course of that period of time with the different companies. BlockFi was one, Voyager was one, and what was the third one?
The one that failed?
Yeah, it was failed.
Celsius?
Yeah, they'll bail out the banks. And it's not that I'm trying to cover anybody's mistakes. It was that Gary Gensler was so, I thought, criminally negligent to just take a peek into the company. I've been in Washington, D.C. I've stood outside his beautiful glassed building, a beautiful multi-million-dollar building. Put someone on a darn plane and just knock on the door, say, hey guys, just wanted to come over here and meet your CFO because, you got a lot of millions of Americans getting into this crypto. So we just thought we'd say, hey, give us a quick overview of the staff here. Nothing was done. And then so many millions lost their money trying to take speculative risk. And it was really frustrating. Okay, let's get into some technical analysis.
Okay.
So Bitcoin, let's just talk about where it's at. I made a couple notes. So Bitcoin, the bulls, right? Another person that we heard from this week was Michael Saylor, who said that in the next 20 years, every single Bitcoin could potentially, at its highest case bull prospect, hit $49 million. Now, he made a compelling case as to why or how that could happen. He admitted that it was a bull case scenario that each Bitcoin that is now trading around $68,000, each one would be worth $48 million, okay? And I wanted to lead off with that by talking about the bull opportunity in Bitcoin right now because, I don't know who can outbull the bull. I don't know if Tim will outbull the bull, but... The technicals on Bitcoin at this point, like I said before, is it's moved sideways for 140 days. We broke structure. The last time Tim and I talked about this, we had broken structure out of a trade zone that we had been in and gotten down to 53,000, right? In that show, I warned heavily of my concern that true support, larger support, was back at 50,000 and closer to the moving averages, right? However, it didn't continue to fall at that time. And I also said at that video that if we were to get back above 60,600, that the downtrend move in the short term would be canceled. And by the end of that week, we were back above 60,600. So I knew that we were going higher. And I gave a list of trend lines that we would eventually hit, and we've hit all of them, every last one of them. Now, the big question is, where do we go from here? I also wanted to mention that in the period that we broke structure, we broke beneath the 21 SMA on the weekly chart. And I'm going to just tell you guys, that's something that Bitcoin has never done during a bull market ever in the history of the charts. It's never broken beneath that. And now, typically, the first time it breaks beneath that is the beginning of the bear winter. That's pretty ominous.
Pretty rough.
That's pretty rough. Okay. And so we cannot get bullish. And I'm hoping that I can explain this to you guys. Okay. Because Keenan Grace will get the credit for saying you trade with the chart, not with your heart. And so the chart is telling us that Bitcoin is in a sideways move, which I'm going to go back to something that Tim heavily emphasized in a show about 6 weeks ago, which was a prediction that come summer, and I don't mean to take your thunder, brother.
Go for it.
Come summer, he said, we're going to find ourselves sideways. And I agreed with him at that time that is likely where we would end up, moving sideways. Now, the real question is, if we fail to break above 73,000 in the next couple weeks, do we continue the current trend? The current trend is a series of lower highs. I'll get it right here, guys. Lower highs, right, followed by lower lows. So if we do reverse right now, and we do get back beneath 60,000, the no nonsense target has to be 50K. Okay, it has to be. So it's kind of, in my view, I'm going to turn it over to Tim right now. That's kind of the bear case. I'm going to let him give us a bull case. I have a bull case as well. But if we don't move higher in the next 30 days, then in my view, the trend is already communicated that we've got to go back and hit that 50.
Yeah.
But the good thing that the technical chart's having for us is that the stochastic RSI on the weekly time frame has spent a long time sub 20 and is curling up.
Yeah.
And so if the market wants to put the pedal to the metal and hit the gas, we could take off now. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said. And here's what I'll say. I'll start with a little bit of bullish, get into a little bit of question mark. I'm not even going to say bearish, but question marks. And then potentially what the future could look like. The first thing that people should be aware of is Bitcoin conferences historically, at least for the last 10 years. I don't know. I guess I really haven't gone back to look at if there were big conferences back in between 2009 and 2015. But since they've been a bigger deal, they're historical sell events. And there's a nice train in the background if anyone's listening to the loud sound. They're historical sell events. We usually pump into the Bitcoin conferences.
Yep.
And then during the conference, when there's supposed to be all this hype coming in, all this excitement, the prices end up dipping. Well, when the conference started, Thursday morning, the price of Bitcoin was sitting at $64,000. And as the conference closed last night, the price was $68,000. So only $4,000. We're not talking about like 50% pumps to 100% pumps. But it is the first time in a very, very long time that a conference for Bitcoin was actually a bullish event. I think that's something that people should be aware of as being a good change of trend. Here's what I'll say though on the and I said it's not bearish, but I'm going to say question mark / disappointing. I thought that this was a real opportunity that we could have recaptured 70,000, started to make an argument for new all-time highs even before August. And I'm going to kind of chop it up to this. And we were talking about this literally right before hitting record. We were having a conversation and Josh said, stop. We got to record. We got to record this. Let's not go any further. This is good stuff. So my business partner and I, T. Shreem over on Investing Bros, we actually, on our live show yesterday, had a friendly wager. Not yesterday, the day before. We had a friendly wager because there's a lot of speculation that Orange Man Trump, he would talk about the reserve, the Federal Reserve, and he would say the words Federal Reserve. Well, Trump never said that. Lummis said it afterwards, and we all know that he supports Senator Lummis. But he said the words in his speech. He said a reserve, or he said a federal stockpile.
Yes, yes.
And a lot. Again, I was in a press room, and everybody in the room, there's probably 50 people in here. Everyone looks at each other and says, "Was that it?"
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too.
Like, what does that mean? Stockpile. And then because Lummis ended up using the words, we pontificated. We said, I wonder if Trump, and this is very common for him, got off script, lost his track of notes, forgot the word reserve, and used the word stockpile instead. Because I was talking to somebody else who said, actually, that's a more, like, that was an expression they used a long time ago. They wouldn't have said reserve, they would have said stockpile. Or it's a business term, I guess, how a business would talk about storing their wealth. So I think there was a little bit of like, man, if he had said the words Federal Reserve, Bitcoin going into the Federal Reserve, I think there's a very real chance Bitcoin could have pumped over 70,000 last night. He didn't say it. I think there was a lot left on the table. I think that RFK, who spoke the day before on Friday, just did such a beautiful job. It's crazy. With the voice he has, I still want to use the word eloquent. The speech he gave was eloquent. I think most people have gotten used to his voice at this time, while some people are still off put by it. But the words he chose to use, the way he structured how he said everything, his plan even to buy 550 Bitcoin per day until the United States had 5 million. He wanted 25% of the total supply that will ever exist to be in the U.S. Treasury. It was so beautifully put, and he challenged Trump in a lot of ways. And it's one of those things, if he had not done that, if he had not said his speech like that, if it wasn't that great, I think people would have been a little bit more impressed with Trump. I think price would have gone a little higher. But it's almost like RFK stole Trump's thunder a little bit, and made what Trump said underwhelming to the audience. It's still
100%,
great.
100%.
They still talk about. He still talked about. I guess it wasn't him. It was Lummis. But again, he backs what Lummis says. They talked about in the next 5 years they want 1 million Bitcoin in the U.S. Treasury. That's phenomenal. But it's not 5 million. And Trump never said the word federal treasury. So it's one of those things that it's like opportunity was missed, just like the shooter a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
That missed
Deep.
by that much. I think Trump might have missed by that much.
I like that analogy. That's a pretty deep analogy. Opportunity was missed. I agree. And I think that based on just a handful of organized words, we could be above 74K right now.
Yeah.
And your meme coins would be double.
Yeah.
I was looking at my Dogecoin, and Larry and I were chatting about the fact that if Elon had showed up with Trump on stage and Trump had truly said what he needed to say regarding Bitcoin, I was literally trying to see if I had enough signal to drop a couple big bags on Doge. I was like, if I see Elon's face, bye. I'm dropping 30K more on Dogecoin. It didn't happen,
No.
we're gonna. I think that I will tell you this if I want to leave you on a single thought, right? Bitcoin is not out of the woods. The current trend, if you want to go purely and only by the technicals, the current trend is an established decline. Okay, so even though we're up at 69K, we still haven't made a higher high. If we collapsed here, it would be consistent with a lower high. And having had lower lows, because we haven't made a higher low either, we could then assume another lower low. And so this trend has to be broken decisively. And I've always told you guys, over the year that Bitcoin's been in a nice bull run, I've said repeatedly what we are looking for. You go to that Fibonacci. You want to see a monthly candle close green above the previous all-time high. Okay, we haven't had that yet. Then you want to see a monthly candle open above that previous all-time high. And once we then make a new price high above the close of the previous month, then it's buy, and rocket ships to potentially over 100,000, even as high as 177,000 if you want to take the fib next level as your price point. We don't have it yet. And I'm going to tell you right now, Tim, that the day we get that, you guys can rest assured I'm going to be hitting the videos and I'm going to be screaming it from the rooftops at YouTube that it's go time, baby, go time. The memes you'll already know because the meme coins will be running. Guys, we don't have that level of confidence, confluence in crypto right now. However, I did leave with my overall bullish sentiment of Bitcoin higher.
Yes.
I thought, you know what? When we get to this next winter, I met one of the followers. His name is Jesse. I've got to shout him out. He's a very successful young man. He's got a couple car dealerships here in Nashville area. And I was shocked to hear of his Bitcoin position. I felt that pretty good about my Bitcoin position going into this. But Tim, he had 21 Bitcoin.
Yeah. I wish I had that much Bitcoin. That would be nice.
Very bold position. So between Jesse, inspiring me with his lofty position, and Michael Saylor's 49 million, I thought, okay, I'll add a couple more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Guys, it's always such a pleasure for you guys to share your time with us. I appreciate you coming and checking in with us today and getting the updates on the Bitcoin conference. Please hit that like. It feeds the video out to more viewers, and hit that subscribe to get the next video. Tim and I try to do Technical Tuesdays with Tim to discuss and break down crypto as well as stocks. But I think he's got a great handle on the LUXALGO indicator, which is also something that we try to incorporate into our show. I'm going to leave a link for the LUXALGO indicator at in the description of this video, and we try to basically help people have some technical foundation for their investing. And if you don't have any at all and you have no idea where to buy or sell, the Lux indicator actually does give you places to take profit. Now, is it perfect? No. But if you have no strategy right now, you can look at a nice high time frame, a weekly time frame, and you can say, okay, this is support. I could buy here and take some risk. This is resistance. I might take some profit here. So if you got no strategy at all, get a starter strategy on your journey to learning the charts like Tim and I, and check out the LUXALGO indicator. Tim, anything you want to leave them with as far as Bitcoin, crypto?
I don't know exactly when people will be watching this, but again, Tuesday we'll be going live with TA, like Josh says. We'll talk more about it. I think the only thing I'll say, and I'll try to be as quick as possible, if anyone's out there still watching saying, well, what is the next? What are we waiting on to go bullish? Josh said it earlier in this video. I'm the same way with my channel. I hate discussing politics. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't care for politics, but something that someone told me, it just stuck with me. You might not care about politics, but politics cares about you. You got to remember that stuff. And so riding with us as we discuss this is very helpful, but we're just trying to help you guys invest wisely. And to do that, we have to cover political things. Right now, I think the biggest thing we're watching as we see probably the new representative of the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, there's been a little bit of life injected back into the Democratic Party. Whether that's going to be sustained or not, that is something that's happening. Well, why does that affect Bitcoin price? Bitcoin got very optimistic shortly, especially after the assassination attempt, when it just looked like Trump was going to win in a landslide. There was just no way he wouldn't. He's a pro-Bitcoin president. Bitcoin is the future. Well, now that there's been fresh life breathed into an opposition, there's a little bit of pause. Okay, what if this isn't such a sure thing? And so now we're also waiting. Kamala has made statements recently saying that she is going to be an ally of the Bitcoin and crypto community.
Her title was that she wants to reset the relationship with the crypto community. Go ahead, sir.
So my thought is, and again, this is, you might not care about politics, but politics cares about you. This is a very important thing for the future of crypto. Could we potentially have two good options for crypto, whether you believe that is true or not? If she's running on that claim, that could be a catalyst to go even more bullish than just a Trump being pro-crypto president. But right now, I do think the markets are waiting in limbo. We've heard rough statements. We have not heard her actually speak. We've not seen the fruit of what she's planning on doing. So that is, I think, the pause right now. I think the next step to see bullishness is going to be, do we see a resounding, strong statement from her and her camp that gives us evidence behind the claims, or do we get back to a place where it looks like a Trump presidency is just a given? I think that is the next political narrative that will actually bring us the new highs, and that's what I'm even looking at this. With Trump missing this opportunity, which I think it was, and with Kamala recently gaining some momentum, I think there's a little bit of a, let's pause for a second before we make our next step. I think whales are going to wait before they make their next big purchase, but they're going to wait for some confidence. And I believe that it could I think Kamala actually could instill confidence that saying, hey, you know what, maybe we don't want her to be president, but if she is, it's not the worst thing in the world for a Bitcoin holder. That also could bring some pumps to the market. And again, whether you agree, whether your political affiliation is aligned with Trump or Kamala or RFK or anybody, all of us want to see the price of Bitcoin go up, and we want to change our wealth forever. So wait for that kind of news to come out. I think that's the next catalyst for would Bitcoin rally to new highs, or as Josh says, and I'm in agreement with him, there's a lot of liquidity at 50K, or do we fall back down to 50K? That's what we're watching over the next couple of weeks.
What I heard from what Tim just said, which I just want to double down on and underline, which is this, that we don't have clear direction, we don't have strong momentum either way, and we're going to be news driven. And doesn't that make sense going into an election year with a fair degree of uncertainty, that at some point the markets are going to reach a place where they are comfortable, and then they're going to watch, wait, and see, and listen to the news. And so, guys, we're going to be news driven, which means sideways, and sideways means choppy. And so just be cautious. One of the things I've advised, Tim, is in this environment where we've had kind of easy money for 2024. I know some of you are saying, well, it wasn't easy for me, but I'm going to tell you that when you become a more consistent trader, you will look back on 2024 and realize that it actually was easy money.
Yeah.
Now we're in a choppy environment, which is less easy, right? And that's going to be news driven. And so the way that you survive it, because it's super important that you survive, because Wall Street always gives you an opportunity to make money, is to reduce your position size. So reduce your risk, reduce your position size over the next couple weeks, because capital preservation is number one, because when the market gives us a clear direction, it will go back to an easier money-making environment. We turn Wall Street into our ATM daily, clocking, even if it's a small gain, someone's position, might not allow them to knock down 10,000 a day, 3,000 a day. Someone may only be able to knock down $25 a day or $50 a day, but that's life-changing if you can do it consistently.
Agreed.
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Tim, for your great
Absolutely.
insights into the Bitcoin conference and crypto. Appreciate you so much. This is our first time being together in person.
Not the last.
Not the last. It was a great opportunity. Appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.